Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I'm late. No, you didn't miss me. You didn't miss anything. I'm just a little bit delayed because I had to go back and make sure everything was correct. Oh, nobody's here. Oh, well, anyhow. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is Johnny Mac 365 coming to you, presenting Wednesday Word. Wednesday Word. Wednesday Word. K got a body? 13, good evening. And again, I welcome all of you to Wednesday Word. Those of you in the bushes, welcome, welcome, welcome. Wednesday Word, as this title suggests. Today we want to talk about self-image. Diana Duchess from Brooklyn, welcome. And thank you all for sharing your evening, sharing your time with me. Good evening, Bernadette. And again, I welcome you and thank you for coming. Now, today's word is self-image. I want to deal with self-image. How you see yourself is very important. How you see yourself is how the world sees you. How you see yourself is how you experience life. Your experiences are basically filtered through your self-image. How you feel about yourself, what you think about yourself, and how you see yourself. So how you see yourself in your own eyes determines what you get out of life. Self-image is your own conception of yourself. It is the mental and emotional picture you hold in your own consciousness of who you are, what you are, and what you represent. Your self-image is important because it is a starting point of your life experiences. The image you hold of yourself is like a great vase into which all your life experiences are poured and blended. If your self-image is a small, limited conception of yourself based on ignorance, fear, doubt, and insecurity, then all of your experiences will be filtered through these same negative emotions. So we begin to see and we begin to get an explanation of self-image. How you experience life is how you see yourself, how you feel about yourself. It is the starting point of your, or the foundation, if you will, of all of your life experiences. On the other hand, if you see your self-image is based on knowledge, love, courage, respect, faith, and confidence, your life experience will be filtered through these same positive emotions. So, if you have a negative self-image, what begins to happen is your experiences will be negative. And if your self-image is positive, now let's look at the contrast for a moment. Ignorance, fear, doubt, insecurities. When those things happen, when your foundation are those things, in connection with your self image, or when they are the foundation of your self image, that is exactly how you are going to experience life. You're going to experience life in ignorance, fear, doubt, and insecurity. Now, on the other hand, if you have a more positive self image that is based on knowledge, that is based on love, courage, respect, faith, and confidence, your life experiences are filtered through those same emotions. So you begin to see the positive and the negative. You behave according to your self image, you behave according to how you see yourself, you interact with others in the way that you see yourself. You treat others by the way you treat yourself, coming from your self image. Self image determines your capacity to give, to receive, and to interact with the life experiences and possibilities which confront you. Your self image is a magnet, attracting or repelling like or unlike qualities into your life experience. So your self image now um, is a magnet. What you think, how you see yourself, will draw the very thing to you that you are, that you see, that you feel, and it repels. So if it's negative, you draw all negativity to you, and you repel all goodness, all positive. If it is a positive self image, then that magnet draws everything positive and repels the negative. You attract thoughts, people, and experiences which are congruent with how you think and feel about yourself. You draw and you attract people and experience which are congruent with how you feel about yourself. If you want to attract the good health, wealth, and happiness that you desire and dream about, then you must develop a self image that is compatible with and supports these very thoughts, namely good health, wealth, and happiness. A nice example of how the self image works is this. One question that appears on almost every job application is, what salary and benefits are you looking to receive? Many prospective employers give a lot of weight to how this question is answered. Subconsciously, most people will answer with a figure that indicates their own assessment of what they bring to the position. Now, a figure below what is the position up, excuse me, a figure below what the position is worth is often a tip off that the applicant has a low assessment of their own skills and would probably not be a good employee. A figure too high above the position or what the position is worth might indicate a lack of knowledge about the position itself. If you've done your homework and you know the deal, you should be able to set a figure at the high end of what the position is worth, plus just enough fluff to get some attention. However, let me warn you, Be prepared to answer the question that will surely come. Why do you feel that you are worth, or that you would be worth $2 zillion to this company? So, in other words, you have to do your homework and make sure, especially in this analogy here, to make sure that you um, understand who you are and what you bring to the table. Okay. You have to have a well researched and thought out, well prepared, well represented, logical, and intelligent reply. You will probably get the position on your terms consistent with your self image. So when you research and when you think, have it well thought out and well presented in a logical and intelligent reply, you will probably get, and this is the same thing, this is based upon your self image, and that's just one of the analogies. There are things that affect your self image. The most important aspects of the self image are generally developed in the first stage of life. Now, the stages of life, the stage of life, there are 4 stages of life. There are 4 stages of life. Let me say that again. There are 4 stages of life. And I have to shout out Mr. Sean Bradley. I know he don't like to be shouted out in a lot of people's chats, but the reason why I'm shouting out Sean Bradley is because um, your video today so started something in me that I wanted to do this. And here's where you come in. 4 stages of life. There is the educational stage, and that's from conception to about 20 or 25 years old. There is the sensation stage, or the sensation and experience stage, which is between 20 and 40 or 25 and 50. The power stage is number 3, which is which runs from 40 to 60 or 50 to 76. And then the 4th one is the immortality stage. Okay, so the educational stage runs from conception to about 20. This is the stage where we begin to learn. This is the stage where children are sponges. Now, in my theological training, one of the particular areas that we had to study was the early educational system of the different biblical tribes, or the biblical entities that believed that the first 5 years of a child's life is when they basically learn just about everything that they are going to be. They learn through all of the senses, the sense of touch, the sense of sight, the sense of taste, the sense of hearing, and I think there's one more sense, but anyway, and the sense of smell. However, the most important of these senses are the senses that are portals to our inner man, to our inner self, and that is sight and sound. What we see and what we hear develops who we are, or sets the foundation of who we will be, or better yet, begins the foundation of our self-esteem and how we see ourselves. So we have to understand, especially those of us that have children, we have to take great care and great responsibility for those first 5 years, especially those first 5 years, because we're creating personality. we're creating how that individual is going to see themselves, whether they see themselves in a negative light or a positive light. Once this image is fully established, all consequent stages are built on and filtered through it. In fact, all changes in life begin with your self-esteem and take place through changes in the feelings, emotions, and attitudes that it represents. Now, there are three things, or three main things that affect your self-esteem. There are three main things that affect your self-esteem. Thoughts, number one, thoughts, emotions, and feelings develop in the educational stage of your life, particularly very early childhood, conception through 7. Number two, your environment. And number 3, your associations. Thoughts, emotions, and feelings. In the first 7 years of life, children develop the basic system of values which will take them through life. As I said before, those first 5 to 7 years, they develop the system of values. So it's very important in those first 7 years that we begin or that we are very cognitive, that the development of the basic system of values will be taken in by that child. Okay? And that takes them through life. It is during this period that the child learns and develops emotions and feelings of fear and reward, pain and pleasure, love and lack of love, guilt, blame and shame, praise and discouragement, curiosity and lack of interest, persistence or discouragement, respect or disdain, manners or crudeness, courtesy or callousness, and a host of other positive or negative emotions and feelings. In other words, this is a very crucial age for the child, for the child from birth till between 5 and 7 years old. The young child is a sponge. They are a sponge. They are a sponge of thoughts, emotions, and feelings. It thrives and blossoms on the teachings, good feelings, and positive emotions. Yet, it has no defense against bad teachings, bad thoughts, negative feelings, negative emotions. It's like a sponge which soaks up everything. That child soaks up both the good and the bad. That child cannot discern at that particular stage of life during the educational stage what is good and what is not good, what is good for them and what is good to them, what is not good for them and what is not good to them. At this young age, the child's ability to discern and to discriminate the good from the negative has not yet fully developed. Whatever thoughts, teachings, or experiences that the young child is exposed to go straight into the subconscious and conscious mind. And if we all understand the conscious mind, and the unconscious mind, most of what we learn goes into the unconscious mind until we need it, and the conscious mind brings it to the unconscious mind brings it to the conscious mind. So in relation to our self image, what we get in those years as a sponge, as we suck all that stuff in, it goes into our subconscious mind. And unless we are cognitive, unless the parents are cognitive of what the child is being exposed to, that becomes part of the child's self-esteem until they learn to discern and discriminate. Until they learn to discern and discriminate. Whatever thoughts, teachings, or experience that the young child is exposed to goes straight to the subconscious and the conscious mind. They make permanent impact upon the child's emotional and feeling nature. So it goes straight into how they feel, and especially about themselves and how they see themselves. This is why parents are very important. And strong parents, parents that are discerning, parents that are responsible, parents that understand what parenting is. This is crucible in which the child's personal value system is molded. Now, the word crucible, and that is CRUCIBLE, crucible, is a ceramic or metal container in which metal or other substance may be melted or subjected to high heat. Okay, so this is the crucible in which this is the container. This is the container in which the child's personal value system is molded. Unfortunately, the young child has virtually no defense or options in this educational experience. So the parent has to be knowledgeable, the parent has to be aware, and the parent has to be on the defense for the negative things that can go into the container that makes the child who they are, that makes the container that everything is stirred up in for the child to become who they are going to be. But it is on this emotional and feeling foundation that the rest of your life is built. Give thanks. Give thanks. If it was a good and positive foundation. On the other hand, get busy if it wasn't. Now, Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6 says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. It is these feelings and emotions that become associated with your thoughts as your self-image develops. Unless they are changed in later years, these feelings and emotions develop as a child's guide and to a large extent determine your life experiences. So, self-image does not just start when you are grown. Your self-image does not just start when you are a teenager. It starts within the first 5 to 7 years. And every experience and every exposure, that's where it begins. That's where it begins to develop to make you the person that experiences life through those filters. Now, your environment is a strong influence upon your self image because it is a source of validation and confirmation. Let me say that again. Your environment is a strong influence upon your self image because it is a source of validation and confirmation. Suppose you have a poor self image and you lived and worked in a rundown area, in a poorly maintained home, in an otherwise negative environment. What does that negative environment do other than confirm your negative self image? In other words, being surrounded by confirmation and validation of a low self image or a poor self image, it validates and supports an individual to continue to have a poor self esteem. When you are exposed to a particular environment, if you remain in it for a period of time, you take on some of the characteristics and properties of that environment. If your self image contradicts and conflicts with the characteristics and properties of your environment, you are confronted with three choices. So, in other words, uh, if your self image conflicts with your environment, there are three choices that you have to make. You have to make one choice is change the environment. Choice number two, change your self image. Choice number three, leave the environment. Let me say those choices again. Change your environment, change your self image, or leave the environment. Association brings along assimilation. John Lavater, a noted Swiss theologian, beautifully captured this thought, saying, and this I love: frequent intercourse and intimate connection between two persons make them so alike that not only their dispositions are molded like each other, but their faces and tones of voice contract a similarity. So when you are in that environment, you speak like that environment, you talk like that environment, and you look like that environment. So if your environment validates poor self-esteem, you're going to look like you have poor self-esteem. You are going to sound like you have a low self-esteem, and you're going to behave like you have a low self-esteem. So then you should primarily associate only with those persons who possess the traits and characteristics that complement the positive aspects of your self-image. Such positive associations will greatly enhance your own developments and help confirm and establish the vision, emotions, and feelings you have about yourself. So, in other words, you have to surround yourself in an environment that supports the self image that you want to portray. The way you see yourself, you have to surround yourself in a supportive atmosphere, a supportive environment that supports and enhances and motivates you to continue in that self image and to even make the self image better. There are 5 signals of a poor self image. So, in doing your own personal analysis of your self image, there are certain keys or signals to look for. The first signal to look for is putting the blame on somebody else. By putting the blame for your own circumstances and situations on someone else, you avoid the responsibility for what you have already done to yourself. If you do not take responsibility for your condition, you cannot change it, nor can you grow through it. And how many times have we come in contact with individuals that continually put the blame on someone else for their situation and their circumstances? They don't want the responsibility. They don't want the responsibility for their own actions, for their own thoughts and their own self-image, which again, that environment, those circumstances and situations only support your self-image. That which you cannot grow through, you will go through again and again. Let me say that one more time. That which you cannot grow through, you will go through again and again and again. And let me say this again. In observation of the people around you, there are people that we see every single day that do not grow through their situations and circumstances. So they repeat them over and over and over again. They complain about them over and over and over again. But because they don't take responsibility, things will not change. Because they're putting the blame on someone else, things will not change. And it doesn't matter who they blame, because in every situation they blame someone else. In every circumstance, in every situation, there is someone else to blame. The person they blamed the last time is out of the picture, but they're going through the same thing, but there's always somebody else to blame. Of the 5 signals, number 2, running away from your problems. When you are confronted with a problem or challenge, how do you respond? When you are faced with a problem or a challenge, how do you respond? Generally, you can do one of 4 things: flee it, fight it, forget it, or face it. Give that a moment to sink in. Generally, you can do one of 4 things: when you're faced with a problem. When you're faced with a problem or a challenge, you can do one of four things. You can either run away from it, stand up to it and fight it. You can forget that it exists, or you can face it. Only when you face your problem and challenges and consider them projects to be completed that you grow stronger in faith and self-confidence. As your faith and confidence grows, your ability to handle greater problems and challenges improve. Each time you face it, you gain the ability to handle it. Every time you face it, you get stronger in your faith. You get stronger in your ability. You get stronger in your self-confidence. And in turn, it gives you a greater power, a greater ability, a greater ableness. It causes you to be able, from a stronger standpoint, to handle greater problems and greater challenges. Number 3, criticizing other people constantly. Why do you criticize other people constantly? Is your criticisms constructive and motivating, or motivated by true care, concern, and desire to help? Or is it based on envy, jealousy, and thoughts of inferiority? Now, I can only speak for me. In my observation, and you all hear me say this a lot. You all hear me say, I observe, or I have observed, or I am observing. In my observation, there are several people, especially on YouTube, that criticize other people constantly. And you can tell that their criticism is based on envy, jealousy, and thoughts of inferiority. If your criticism is not positive, based on love, respect, and a sincere desire to help and improve another person, then it is not constructive criticism. And it does harm not only to the person, but also to your self-image. So you find that these people that criticize out of jealousy, envy, and inferiority, they do just as much damage to themselves as they do to the person they're criticizing, or even more, because the person that you criticize has the opportunity to take self-evaluation and to evaluate the situation. And if they're a smart person that has a positive self-image, they're going to take what applies and let the rest fly and work on themselves and the situation. However, the person that envies or that criticizes out of envy, out of jealousy, and inferiority, they live with that because that's their self image. That's how they see themselves. So it does greater harm to them. And that's why you see them can't keep a job, don't have any real friends, don't have anybody that really cares for them authentically. Number 4, waiting for someone else to solve your problems and challenges. When you wait for someone else to solve your problems and challenges, you minimize your own possibility for learning and growing through experience. What keeps you from what keeps you from taking action when a problem or challenge presents itself? Is it fear of failure, that you won't do the right thing, or is it fear of success that contradicts how you may really feel about yourself? Here's the problem. Most people fail drastically, not because of the fear of failure, but the fear of success. There is a such thing as the fear of success. Now, again, an observation, when you look around at some of the people on YouTube, you will begin to see some of them actually have the fear of success. They get right to the door, right to the threshold. They get to the door swings open, and instead of walking through it, they get scared, they create chaos, and they go back the other way, run away from it, and then start all over again. Or they do something to sabotage the opportunity to succeed. They are afraid of success. They are afraid of success. So whether it is the fear of failure or the fear of success, it doesn't matter since the result is the same: procrastination, inaction, and ultimate failure. Number 5, and the last of our uh, Wednesday word is pretending that everything is okay. And it's amazing. It is amazing how people pretend that everything is okay when it is not. You can hear the worry in their voice. You can see the worry on their face. You can see the load on their shoulders. Their shoulders are not straight up. Their shoulders are slumped. Their face is drooping. Their voice is slow and low. When you pretend that everything is all right, actively ignoring the problem or the challenge, you subsequently accept the consequences that will surely result from your inaction. So, in other words, pretending that everything is okay so often means that you are not facing the problem or the challenge, that you have not stood up to the problem or the challenge. You deceive yourself into thinking that there is no need for change or improvement and develop a false sense of complacencies. You eliminate virtually all possibility for personal growth and development. The nature of problems and challenges is that if they continue unresolved, they get worse. So, if you act like everything is okay, if you act like everything is fine, If you pretend, because so often not wearing it on your face is one thing, but when you are pretending, it means that you are denying that those things exist, that those problems and challenges exist. And you try to convince yourself that everything is okay. So you pretend to the world that everything is okay. However, it will make matters worse. It will only get worse as time goes on. You have to resolve those issues. You have to face those problems and challenges. But if you have a poor self-image, these are some of the things that you do. These are the behaviors that are consistent with a person that has a poor self-image. So let me encourage you. Take self-inventory and see where you stand. Now, as I often say, that when I do these lessons, or especially the Wednesday word and the Sunday service, I always like to take it in and evaluate myself and do self-analysis on myself. And the thing about this is that it never stops. You constantly have to remind yourself to take a break and see how I'm doing on the inside. See how I'm doing with my self-image. Have I allowed outside forces to come in? Have I allowed an environment or a surrounding to become so much that it's supporting a poor self-image? Have I lowered my standard? Have I lowered my standard, not so much for other people, but have I lowered my standard for me and caused my self-image, or caused me to look at myself lower than what I am? Everyone in here, you are full of possibility. As a matter of fact, not only are you full of possibility, but with that, you are equal probability. Because what's possible in your mind can be probable in your life and experience. So take self-inventory. Take self-inventory. And let's work on those things in our self-image that is poor, so that we can have a high self-image, not conceited or arrogant, but convinced. I appreciate all of you that have come in tonight. Mysterious Mermaid, Felicia Fee, M. Bernadette Vlogs, Miss Perspective Pat, Eddie Peeler, Nixie Nix, all of you. It is a pleasure, and I appreciate your time. Oh, Patricia Ellington. It's so good to see all of you, and I thank you for coming in, and I pray that J. Dot, Miss Leo 814, I do pray that I have enlightened you. I have given you some tools to work with, not just for yourself, but to recognize them in other people, so that you can keep your distance and they can keep theirs. Oh, Monk Chip, good afternoon. Thank you for being here, so that, you can continue to live a successful life. K got a body. And I want to shout out an appreciation um, to my moderators who are always on point. I appreciate you very much. Oh, Crazy T5000, good to see you. It's good to see you. Now, let me say this. Usually, when I'm doing a Wednesday word or even a Thursday thank you, I very seldom pay close attention to the chat. I see the chat, I see it going on, but a lot of times I because I am focused on getting it out, I don't stop too much to speak. And I appreciate your understanding that. I appreciate that. So all of you that have come in here, I appreciate you, and I thank you again to my moderators, J. Dot, Maturers, 6 of 7. I appreciate them, and I have to holler out, give them a shout out, because a lot of times the moderators do what they do, and they do what they do voluntarily. Um, and it is wonderful to have not only moderators that moderate well, but moderators that are supportive of what you do. And again, observation, a lot of moderators do not support the people they moderate for. They have a hidden agenda. So I appreciate my moderators, and I support my moderators. I support them, and I encourage them to do their thing, I have to say this, and I'm not going to hold you much longer. I think on YouTube, some of the most talented and gifted moderators, both in their own right and encouraging and being encouraging to not just me, to everyone they meet. And that's a gift and a talent, to be able to support and encourage, and that know how to lead when it's time to lead and follow when it's time to follow. So I appreciate you all very, very much. And to everyone that's in the chat, again, I thank you for your time. Now, I'm going to say this. I don't ask anybody to super chat, or I don't make it mandatory. However, if you feel the unction to give, you can give. I have I'll put my my Cash App in. Oh, wait a minute, that's not it. Okay, I think I put it in there. Yeah, my Cash App, just in case you want to give. It's not required, but it's appreciated. So I thank you all for being here. And on that note, well, Conscious TV, thank you for being here. Oh, I just saw him. Thank you for being here. Hey, man, it's good to see you. I'm so, wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your time. Wow, I am on cloud 9. Wow, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much. Uh-huh. Maturish is here. Thank you all for coming in. And again, it is my endeavor to be a blessing to you, to share with you the tools that I have used in my life to help me to get past the crap and begin to enjoy life. So I bless you with love. As I say at the end of all of my lives, I decree and declare into your life much love, more love than you can imagine, more love than your heart can feel, and much more love than your hands can hold. Because when you love God, when you love your Creator, and you love yourself, and you love your fellow man, then you have definitely done the commandments of God, and He is pleased. He is pleased. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Conscious TV. And back at you. Back at you. Back at you. Again, thank you for coming and sharing your time with me. And I bid you a wonderful rest of Wednesday and a fantastic and successful Thursday. God bless you all.